when I thought that I would have had to stop my older son from going to school, and I would homeschool him. And I remember the principal called me and she said to me, Mrs. Martin, somebody has paid his school fee. Wow. You know?
Here we are, having to continue with Richard and Elspeth Madden, yes, whose story continues to be a tremendous blessing and inspiration. Mm-hmm. Richard, a very distinguished aircraft mechanic, having worked with 2 major airlines out of Jamaica, and was very rich. His wife said, yes. And certainly have beside him his darling wife, Elspeth Madden, who's a distinguished and eminent social worker, yes, working with the Ministry of Justice in Jamaica, especially in the division of Victim Services Division, yes, an internationally renowned speaker and trainer. Yes. We are happy to have them as we continue this enthralling discourse, if you will, as it relates to their journey.
Yes, yes. So the last time we spoke a lot about, the children and you having a special needs child. I mean, that touched me so much because I know how difficult that must be for you. But I know there must be other things that you can share with us. What has been the most challenging experiences?
I think I let Richard start with that.
You've been through.
Mm-hmm.
The most challenging is, well, first of all, before I go there, let me say that, all along, I think one of my biggest fears has been not to be able to provide for family. And as things turn out, I have been in that position about 3 times, right? First, with American Airlines, when I lost my job there. This happened in 2010, right? It's a long story, mm-hmm, but the fortunate thing with that, though, is that, having lost a job, I'd been with American Airlines for 20 years.
Wow.
And the pension not the pension, the redundancy package was such that, it tied us over for about 2 years. And as the Lord would have it, I was able to get another job just shortly after that money, that redundancy money, was just about to finish. So after that job loss at American, the redundancy package carried me through for about 2 years. And fortunately, after that 2 years, I got a job with Fly Jamaica, initially as an aircraft mechanic again. But the thing is that I had what is known as a A&P, which is an American certification for aircraft mechanics. And that gave me the opportunity to progress to be a supervisor. So shortly after being at Fly Jamaica, I became a supervisor there, and that bumped up my salary. So that was a bit fortunate for us. So although, I'd lost a job for 2 years without a thing, having gotten back into a job in short order, my salary was bumped up to a bit more than I used to earn at American. So that was a bit fortunate as well. But after a while, I was at Fly Jamaica, I think, for about 2 years. And then, as fate would have it, I lost my job again. right? This was as a result of an accident on the job, right? But nevertheless, as supervisor at the time, I bore the brunt of the responsibility, and the job was, I lost that job there. So again, I was faced with a job loss. And I was out for, I think, over a year, somewhat over a year. Then I got a job with a company that I don't think anybody would have really heard about. It was a new company, but they were operating drones. And what they were doing is that they used the drones to spray crops. So I was hired as the chief mechanic there with them to service the drones and also a fleet of 2 vehicles. So that was pretty good. However, what we eventually found out was that the drones that we were operating were not suitable for the jobs that we're doing, because we needed a much heavier drone. And after a while, we found that there are a lot of accidents with the drones, because also we were operating at these fields where they had a lot of high power lines running through, and there was a lot of electromagnetic interference, and that caused the drones, or the person who was operating the drones, to lose signals for the drones, and they had a lot of crashes. So after a while, it became, not feasible for them to operate. So the company stopped that operation. So again, I lost that job. So this is 3 job losses in this, very short order. And my efforts to get jobs since then, all the applications I've, put in, I've been to a few interviews, but nothing forthcoming, right? And so I really have not been employed for a number of years. So I've been home, but while I'm at home, I'm trying to get, things done. So I've started a small apiary, right? And also sought to get some things growing to see if we can get sales, agricultural stuff.
And eat from our land, to feed the family.
Yes.
So that is where I'm at right now.
Right.
But I don't know if Elspeth would want to add.
Well,
but it may just to wrap as your transition, Richard, having a little insight. You have been a resilient person. You have not just throw your hands in the air. I saw you moving from being a very astute, one might say, for want of a better word, mechanic. Yes? And you went to study, learn, drywall thing.
Oh, yes.
To date, you are also working on the farm and producing the best honey that we can have. I'm searching for the word. It is not mixed.
No. Yes.
Right?
Unadulterated.
Unadulterated quality.
Organic.
Yes. I wanted to add that. I could not make that pass me. Sorry.
Right. So, Richard is very stable. He really is very stable, because during these years of not having a job, and I wasn't working in two of those periods. I wasn't working, and so we were both at home, and we would have no food in the house, and we would hear a horn at the gate, and it's a van full with groceries, right? That's how God kept us. Just miraculous provisions over and over and over again for us. And God carried us like that. And the children were never without. Their school fees were paid. They were going to prep school, and Nathan was in a special school, and none of them had to stop. When I thought that there was a point when I thought that I would have had to stop my older son from going to school, and I would homeschool him. And I remember the principal called me, and she said to me, Mrs. Martin, somebody has paid his school fee.
Wow.
You know? So these are things that God has just shown up. God taught us to pray, right? Because the truth is that a lot of men would have just gone. You know, it's just too much. I myself have felt like, boy, this is just too much. I don't want this.
Yes, I was going
You know
to
what I
ask.
mean?
Yeah.
And you know, at the low points, you feel like just leaving this behind and just going. And I'm sure Richard has felt that way as well, you know. But that love the decision that we were told at our marriage, that has just been amazing for us. Because it's not a feeling. Because let me tell you, in all of those time, feelings went through the door. Right? It wasn't about feelings. We weren't feeling gooey about each other. There was just so much happening. There were needs left, right, and center. We weren't living in our own home, right? And so there were the needs for that. Bills had to be paid. Let me tell you, our electricity was never cut off. Our water was never cut off. And we were never without food. Right? The Lord kept away. We still operated 2 vehicles. And I mean, that all of that was miraculous. You know, God miraculously. And because of that, Acts chapter 2 has become such a big thing for me and for us, the community of believers. Because God used our church family and other Christian believers to rally around us, you know, to meet our needs. We would get gas coupons for petrol. I never even knew that was something that you had coupons for petrol, you know, and things like that. You know, God just kept us. And a need was coming up, and we learned to pray. We learned to give it to the Lord because we realized our helplessness. There is nothing. And I remember saying, even especially for Nathan, God, you gave this child to us. You have to provide. You have to make the way because we don't know. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen, you know? And so the Lord did his thing. And then it came to the stage now where we had bought property. The Lord had given us property. And we knew that eventually we would have to move because we were in a family home and we would need to move out of it. And so while Richard was working and I was working, we started to build. And then came job loss, right? And we ceased building for about 2 years. And we realized that somebody, I think, had said to Richard that his spiritual father had said something to him about, I don't think you should stop, you know? And so we started to pray again, putting the need before the Lord. And how on earth is this going to happen? You know, we have nothing to put in it. And can I tell you that we're living in that home now because the Lord provided every single cent for that home miraculously, right? And
Mrs. Mad, not to break your trend of thought.
You sound as if you want some drama, Reverend McFarlane.
But for the listening public, when you hear the Lord miraculously, what exactly do you mean? You got another job?
No job. What we got was the money. That's what we got. We got we literally got the money for the house. That's what we got. Yes. Wow. The Lord provided that.
Laid it on the hearts of men.
The Lord set it up. It was a divine setup.
Yes.
And it blew our minds, but the Lord provided the money, and it was not a little bit of money.
Oh dear.
Well,
you're talking about, she said her husband is rich, you know.
Yeah, it's not her father is richer.
My father, our father, definitely is richer. Definitely is richer. And so when we had to move out of where we lived, our house was not complete. And so we didn't know. We were wondering if we would have to let Genesis go and stay with these friends, have Nathan stay here, Jordan's. That's what we were thinking, because we just never knew what we were going to do until the house was ready. And again, God showed up. Friends of ours were going to do some work on their house, and it wasn't an emergency. And they said, listen, you guys can have this house until your house is ready. So we moved into a beautiful place where we were very comfortable, had more space than we needed, and it was such a blessing and the timing was just amazing. The timing was absolutely precise.
Yeah.
Up to the point when we had to move was just the right time for us to come out of that house, for them to come into their house. It was just amazing.
That is one thing that we have been learning and have had to learn, that, the problems come, right? And when they do come, a lot of them are very overwhelming, right? But we have to remember that the Lord is bigger than our problems, and we have to focus on the Lord and not so much on the problems, right? I remember with, Peter, when the Lord came to him on the Sea of Galilee, walking on the sea, and he came out of the boat. That as long as he was focused on the Lord, he would walk. But when he started focusing on the waves, he sank. And so, that just reminds us that irrespective of the problems, as large as they may be, we need to take our eyes off the problem and look to the Lord. Right.
Yeah, but
and
just a
he
quick
will help
follow-up
us.
to that before we wrap. So, you spoke about the depressive episodes or the breakdown. Were you able to seek any form of help outside of your immediate family or friends?
I have very good friends. I really have been blessed with very good friends. My sister is one of my closest friends, and I have other close friends. And so to just have been able to talk through, I didn't have to go to counseling, but I know that one of the biggest things for me was just a mind change. Just a mind change. Richard was not the problem. For me to understand that he's not the problem, and that God was doing something, a bigger thing than me and than Richard, and that God wasn't being spiteful. He wasn't saying, watch me and the two of them, I'm gonna do this now or something like that. It didn't make sense. And we still don't understand some of the journey, and we're still journeying through all of this, but we're at peace. We have that peace of mind and heart that we didn't have 2 years ago. So the Lord has been taking us on this journey, and we're learning to trust the Lord more. And so many other things have been happening to us. It's not just the job loss. So many other things have been happening to us. And we received devastating news about our son, our special son, recently. And I don't think we have the time to go into that. But, it's just to say that, God is faithful. And if we can trust him with everything, if we believe that he is the orchestrator, that he allows what comes, that Jesus did say that we will have trials, and that we understand that when they do come, that God is not, he's still near, and he's with us. And if we trust him he will take us through it. Amen. He will take us through it. He will give us sturdy shoes to walk the rocky paths that we have to walk.
There you have it. Well, what can we say? You have just been exposed to just some of the knowledge of the journey of the Maddens, a relationship that started in the church. For it was in New York, in the church, that Richard spotted Elspeth,
yes,
and flew across the seas to strengthen the relationship. They had a confirmation beyond a shadow of a doubt that this relationship and marriage to be, which did happen, was God's leading. But in the midst of God's will, there have been many challenges. Giants, you call them.
Yes.
But with all the down times, checks arrived at the appropriate time and for the fulsome amount for hospital fees, for surgeries. Checks were available of pension to take care of them. Money for house to move into house was provided, and the support of the community according to Acts chapter 2. She now becomes a preacher. Is saying, well, this has been a tremendous time with the Maddens, and what can we say? It has to be inspirational for many couples that irrespective of how challenging it is, there's yet a better way ahead. With God, all things are possible. Natalie.
Amen. Amen. I just want to thank you again for tuning in. I want to thank our sponsor, Mattox Health and Fitness, and our resident producer, George Malcolm Walker, our program director, Damian De Aguilar. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Foundation Christian Ministries and on Facebook at New Foundation Christian Ministries. Follow us on Instagram at B1 Marriage Ministry. Thank you for listening. See you next time.